Now, the board also approved a request by JBG Smith to use some open space that's kind of right near the site of the future Amazon HQ2 as a staging site, so to speak, for the project. Now, this was a little bit of controversy surrounding this. What was the controversy?
Well, it's such a big project. So usually you're building a building, and the staging means that, like, the building materials, you got to bring the building materials here, put them down, and then put them up to build the building. And because this was such a huge building and needed a whole basement, but basically the whole thing is a big pit. So there was nowhere on the site itself to put the staging materials, is what it's called. So they needed to use the park next door. And of course, particularly right now, people love their parks. They want to be in the parks, but yet it's going to be offline. And we had quite a lot of back and forth about it. There was an issue of trees. I don't like taking out trees either. But it was pointed out the trees are not native species, and it's probably a good idea to replace them anyway. So we had a lot of discussion, also just simply the noise on the site, and that was not exactly part of I don't think we voted on noise, but we do vote on, different ways that the timing of things that people have to use when they're doing the construction, so they can't start too early, don't go too late. But they've been doing a lot of pile driving, and that is one of the most disruptive and most difficult things you can do. So we've been working a little bit with JBG and have gotten some agreements to make that a little better, but it's been just terribly difficult for people. And then Katie, I'll invite you to talk, because it did end up being a 4-1 vote. I think the majority of us decided that the project should move forward, and that small part of the park, that we probably needed to do that. So that was why I think the 4 of us voted for it. But I know there was a lot of disagreement. I don't know, Katie, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Thanks, Libby. So this was obviously a really tough one. I think, as Libby well indicated, this park is a pretty essential need right now for this community. It's a densely populated part of the county, and the ability to recreate or have a little natural space to breathe is critically important. Ultimately, the reason I couldn't support the use permit is that I didn't believe that the need for this offsite staging should have been a surprise to the construction contractor or the development coordinator for the project. This is a large site. They intended to excavate all of it. That was known at the time of the site plan last December. And I was disappointed to see that there wasn't planning at the time, and that lack of planning necessitated the use of such a critical resource at this particular moment. Nevertheless, I think it's, in order to deliver some relief for the project, it's important that relief to the surrounding neighbors who are experiencing that very loud pile driving right now. It is important that the construction be able to continue expeditiously. And so while I disagreed and was in fact frustrated with the applicant at this proposal to solve a problem that should have been foreseen, I do respect where my colleagues landed on having it move forward.
Yeah, sometimes they're different things. There are some positives. In that we have just been working with Amazon, and sort of as of just yesterday afternoon, with JBG actually, who's overseeing the construction, that they will be shortening the pile driving time. So they're not going to start until about 8:30 in the morning. And that originally they had the right to start at 7, so that's an hour and a half, which is helpful. And then they're going to stop earlier, between 3:30 and 4 in the afternoon. They do think they'll be done by Friday, the 15th of May, very soon. And that's the worst of it. But they're also doing some talk with Amazon. These buildings are being built by Amazon as some things that they might do for the community to sort of help cope with it. Because even when the pile driving is done, there's going to be a lot of construction issues going on. And one of the things that we're doing new, which I don't know about you, Katie, I thought is probably a pretty good idea. We're going to try it, which is batching the cement on site. Instead of having truck after truck after truck with the turning cement driving miles from Loudoun County or somewhere, they're actually going to be doing the mixing right on the site and obviate the need for all of these trucks coming in and out. And of course, that's a lot of the noise and disruption of these huge trucks coming. So that's going to be interesting. I think that was a benefit. And then Katie, I don't know if you want to talk about the designing of the park, because that's another positive. They are working on that too. Yeah,
that's a great point too about the cement batching. Although it's worth noting that's not happening in that park area. It's happening on another unused industrial style site right now. And I agree. I think that is going to be a benefit. That was part of this item I was happy to vote for, by reducing the number of concrete trucks rolling through the local streets there. But it is important to note that the temporary condition of the park is perhaps not one that will be welcomed. But in the end state is a brand new park, an expansion of Metropolitan Park, and a total redesign of it. Amazon has hired the design firm that did the High Line in New York, a much loved public open space reuse example. The engagement with the community about what the future park should contain and what it should look like had begun to kick off before the pandemic and the stay-home order hit, and it has now moved online. So we have that website up. There are examples and samples of pictures for some of the current thoughts based on that initial public engagement for folks to comment on, view, share their thoughts and feedback. So I believe the timeline that was shared by the applicant at the meeting last week was that the construction of this park would begin next year and be completed the year after. And so the end result of this is actually not just going to be a return to the current state of the park with part of it denuded of trees. It actually is going to be what we hope will be really a lovely centerpiece for this corner of the community to recreate and enjoy some fresh air and trees and the environment.
Yeah, it
Something
all
we
fits in, I
all
think,
are
with the
enjoying right
livability framework they've done, the livability framework that the community worked out. And it's really good. That community is very involved. So that's a positive. One of the positive, people are, without people going to work and all the commuting, a lot of work is being able to be done in some ways faster, more efficient, but then there are people home all day suffering through all of the noise and disruption. So it's kind of pluses and minuses.
Right, of course, definitely understood.